Right, my friends, hello and welcome back to another video. Today you join me on an extremely wet, cold winter's morning. Cold ones are really rolling in now, but we've got a lovely dry section of skate park, so I can teach you 5 no-comply tricks. 3 of them, super easy, beginners can get them no problem. 2 of them, slightly more advanced that you can set your sights on for the future, but all of them are ones that I love and are near and dear to my heart. With that being said, let's get straight into the tricks. So our first one is the no comply frontside shove it. Now I've done the no comply 180 quite a lot in videos like this, but this one is probably a fraction easier for some, but it's very, very similar. Basically what we're going to do for this one is instead for the 180, you would follow the board. For this one, we're not going to follow the board. We're just going to let it spin underneath us. Now you might find this a touch harder. You might find it a touch easier, but basically you don't have to ride away in fakie. You can ride away in normal. So you can step off, kick the board around, stop it, and continue. You don't have to worry about turning your body, your hips, or any of that stuff. But again, this one can be practiced very incrementally just by standing still and popping the board around to get a nice consistent shove it like that. And there's a real easy way to do this. If you just point your foot at a 45-degree angle facing away from you and then just kick down and push it in that same direction, so like this, and then just aim to stop the board exactly where you shot it out from. And the more you do it, the better you're going to be at getting the form of the trick consistently. I'm just going to take this jacket off because it's actually getting quite warm out here.
No, it's not.
The sun is beating down on me. So the next step of the trick, basically, you'll almost die. The next step of the trick on easy mode is stepping off the board. As with every no comply trick, you have to get used to stepping your front foot off the board. We're going to have our foot somewhere like this and then just take it off. Practice just taking it off and keeping one foot on the back. Do that as many times as possible because this, what I've noticed when I teach people these tricks, can be one of the hardest parts of the trick is just taking that foot off. Like forget the shove it or anything like that. Just get used to riding forward, take the foot off. Do it one more time, riding forward, take the foot off, and then when you feel like you're ready, once you're in this position after you've taken your foot off, you move your back foot back to the back of the board, do the shove it, stop the board, and then just stand back on and roll away forward. That is essentially the skeleton of the trick, all there and ready to go. Now all we have to do is put it all into one motion. Probably the toughest bit is to aim and time the back foot pop with the front foot coming off. So the front foot comes off almost exactly the same time as the back foot pops. You want to do it like this at first, like, and then just stop the board. Practice just doing it without fully committing and just stop the board. One more time for my people in the back. And stop the board. And then once you've gotten here, you can just step back on and ride away. Then the final step is as soon as you've tapped your foot on the floor and popped the board, you want to aim to jump back onto it. So again, break it down into really slow steps, take away the gap of time in between. As you go forward, you've heard me say that a lot with these kinds of tricks, but it really does help, it really is true. So as I say, jump back on like that. All in one motion. Oh, bit of a sketchy one. All in one motion. Jesus. Right there. One more time. Almost dying primo. That's why it's important to practice the shove it, so you get more consistent at not landing primo. And here we go. Just like that. The no comply shove it. Right, this next one is the no comply sow flip. Basically, you've heard me just call it a sow flip because it's easier than no comply sow flip's a long ass name. So this no comply trick here is the only exception where you step off with the back foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop the board into our hand like this. And that is the crux of where we need to go first of all. That's our first step. So you can stand still and just practice throwing it up. You want to aim to catch it on the outer facing corner like this, and it's with your front facing arm. So whichever way you're going, if you're going that way, this arm. If you're going that way, this arm. All right, so once you're here, a flick of the wrist brings the board round like that. That's what we're going to be aiming to do underneath us. So throwing the board and stopping it. It's a real twist of the wrist, so watch my hand go like this and stop the board. Hand in the corner, stop the board. You don't even have to let go of the board during the throw until you get like 3/4 of the way around. So like, you let go right at the end. Next, if we're continuing our theme of breaking down incrementally, we're going to throw the board around and try jump on it. So like, it's like this. We can aim to get the back foot on first and then like step forward with the front foot so it's a bit less scary, like that. But essentially you want to land with both feet at the same time, like that. So now that we're here, we're going to step off of our front foot, pop the board into our hand, throw it round and step on. Again, basically the skeleton of the trick, but we need to do it faster. The faster we go, the more fluent everything's going to look in motion. So what I want you to do now is pop it directly into your hand. Once you're here, throw it around and step and jump back on. You're going to have to practice that a ton of times. If you get stuck during any of the sections, practice them individually. Like if you get stuck on the jump, do that. If you get stuck on the throw, do that. If you get stuck on popping up and catching the board, do that. But Jesus, just practice, all right? Even if you've practiced it enough, you can still make silly mistakes like that. That is the south flip. A few slow-mos on screen to break it down for you. On to trick number 3. Okay, now I'm going to show you one that is probably maybe even the easiest out of these 3 because it's a 180, but we're going to grab the nose as we do it. So exactly what we did for the last trick, when we pop the board up into our hand, but this time we're going to take the board 180 and follow it with our feet. So front foot comes off this time, pop it into your hand like this, back foot stays in the air, follow it round like this. Now we're riding in fakie. This one is quite a good one, I think, because it's very, very low key and quite low risk. Just pop up the board, 180, and drop it down. Again, if you want to practice stood still, just pop it up into your hand like this. But this time, we're keeping the front foot on the floor, back foot in the air, and you want to kind of stick the back foot to the board as it goes round like that. So board in your hand, back foot attached, follow it around 180, and now we're riding in fakie again. There's not much to say about this one apart from just practicing popping it up into your hand, keeping the foot on, and following it round. You can do it really slow like that. So as soon as you've got it up into your hand, once you're here, by the way, when you're a beginner, you can take a few steps just to get yourself balanced. But in an ideal world, you do it all in one step. Once you're here, with my foot on the board, you just gotta take the wrist, twist it to get the 180, finish with your feet there, and then step back on. So let's do that one more time. Pop into our hand, follow it round, drop it down, and step the other foot back on. But when you fully practice that and you're feeling confident and you've got everything down and you know what you're doing, let's do it quickly. So we pop up into our hand, throw it down, immediately back onto the board, so like this. And you can kind of add a little jump off the foot that you have on the floor as well, just to steeze it out a little bit, make it look more confident. And then roll away with your knees bent so you have a bit more balance when you land. That's the no comply 180 nose grab. On to number 4. Now we're getting into our slightly more advanced variations of the no comply. This next one, we're going to do a combination of the no comply 180 and a revert at the same time. So we're going to pop our board round, follow it with our foot, but then once we're here, we're going to do a little jump to get our foot back onto the tail and bring it back. The no comply rewind, this one is, you're going to have to practice the 180. You're going to have to practice this trick as well right here, just jumping onto the board and turning it round to face back to normal if you jump on fakie. So if you jump on facing fakie and then turn the board back round, so you're moving forward again, that is definitely a great thing to practice. You're going to want to have the 180, you're going to want to have a lot of board control as well. So this is one to set your sights on if you've only just learnt the other 3. So front foot off as normal, pop the back foot round. We're going to try and keep the back foot as close to the tail as possible. Then once we're like here, we're going to turn it back round. That requires a lot of weight on the outer facing side of your foot that's closest to the tail, just to, you know, give us a bit of leeway like this. Then once you're here, your front foot meets back with the board and continues the turn to facing back to forward again. So you can practice that a lot as well. So just having your foot like there and then turning around, starting with the back foot. So quite a tough maneuver to do, especially if you're closer to beginner than you are intermediate. But practicing that is gonna help a ton. So just do that as much as you need to before you go for the trick fully. Now that we're here, it's just about popping the board into that position and immediately doing that first bit that I've shown you. So you're gonna wanna have that 180 down, so your no comply 180s, they're gonna be solid. You're gonna be able to do that easily at this point, just to make sure that you can actually get the rewind in. And then after a bunch of practice, you're gonna go like that, do it quite slowly, and not too much after. You should be able to get a nice few like that, to be honest. You're gonna have a few where the front foot doesn't quite match up. You're gonna have a bunch where you might be a bit off balance and not quite get the turn rotation back, or you might miss the board when you go like this and not quite get the good back foot placement. So this one's gonna take a lot of practice, like I said, but put in the hours, put in the weeks, put in the months, and we should have ourselves a nice clean no comply rewind. All right, our fifth and final trick. This one is an evolution of, I think it was trick number 2 or 3, the no comply 180 nose grab. This time we're gonna throw in a finger flip as well. So if we're popping up into the hand, it's the exact same thing. So I won't bother repeating myself there. But once we get to this point, instead of just throwing it down and walking away, we're gonna pop it up. Once we're here, we're gonna finger flip and jump back on. So the finger flip, I'll give you the lowdown on that real quick. Basically, your thumb is on the grip tape side, your 4 fingers are on the underside. You twist your wrist like this, like as if you were turning a like music volume knob or something like that. So you just throw it and use your thumb to push down this side and your fingers to pull up this side. So this may look easy, but to spend some time just perfecting the motion of doing this is gonna help, trust me, massively. So do that a lot until you've got the perfect finger flip, because you don't want to be landing primo because you haven't mastered the technique of the wrist. So remember, we're gonna pop into our hand. Once we're here, flick the wrist and drop the board and roll away. Doing it like that is again the safest and easiest way to get used to it, just throwing the board down and then stepping back onto it without fully committing the jump. And as I always say with the no complies, you should have it dialed into your brain by now. Incremental stages are the key to safe progress. So I'll reiterate that for you one more time. Popping up into the hand, flipping the board and stepping back on. Now, what does it look like when you get it all in one motion? And to be honest, if someone did that in a game of anything count skate, I would count that. That is a perfectly viable version of the trick, but for our own pride, we're gonna wanna get it perfectly. So I'm gonna show you how that looks real quick. It's all about doing it just all in a fluid motion, as you always hear me say. But again, pop into the hand, spin the board, flip, and as you're flipping the board, you jump at the same time. So like this. And then you just land on the board, little bit of knee expenditure so you don't shoot out from either way. And that is the no comply 180 finger flip. See you in the next one.